What is the Boardman Civic Association? Well, it's a group of local business, civic, and community leaders interested in the general welfare and development of Boardman Township. We have quarterly meetings to receive updates on matters in the township, as well as news on the schools, parks, systems, and business environment. The BCA promotes community pride and involvement through our annual awards dinner, scholarship dinner, election forums, and business mixers. Membership is a bargain for the networking, fellowship, and fine dining. Our next meeting is going to be March 17th, which is our community awards dinner. However, we are considering as a board having an election forum for the primary election. Looks like it's going to be a busy one in Boardman Township and in Mahoney County. So we're looking to do that. And remember, the presidential election next year is early. It's in March. So watch your emails. We may be contacting you about a forum that we're thinking about probably in February prior to that primary election. Also for our membership and those interested, renewal letters will be going out in early December. If you get one, great. Please, we would love to have you as a renewed member. Or if you need information this evening, please see Stephanie Landers or Meg Harris before you leave tonight. So, why Boardman? Why Boardman? That's the question we kind of stumbled on in our board meeting and talking about having a topic for this evening and having speakers come in to talk to us and tell us why are they invested in Boardman. We believe in it. We're members of this organization, or we live here, we work here, we go to school here, we raise our families here, we worship here, we do all those things and contribute to and receive value in being a resident of Boardman Township. So we thought about was, why Boardman? Why do people choose to come here, choose to invest things here? And so we have three speakers this evening. Our first one to kick us off is Krista Beniston. Krista is the director of the Boardman Township Zoning and Development Department. Let's please welcome Krista.
Well, thank you for having me. They keep, even with zoning in the title, they keep asking me to speak around Boardman, so I appreciate it and hopefully will not bore you too much. Thank you. I've been at the township about 3.5 years now, and really appreciate all the support I've gotten from the trustees and from the community. I think we're really trying to do a lot of good things in our department and really help, that kind of question of why Boardman. I really see our department is, doing the nuts and bolts, lots of shed and fence permits and sign permits, but also, really how our department can be an asset to you as community members and especially the business community. I think a lot of times when people hear zoning, they get, oh, what am I gonna have to go through now? And I think what we really wanna try to do for the businesses is really be an asset, be a resources that the businesses can come to, can ask us questions, and really get the answers they need without too much trouble. So I think that's really kind of the goal of our department as we move forward and develop. And a big part of that really is the zoning code, which is another one of those kind of 200-page boring documents, but that really does set the stage for what the township is, kind of that blueprint. So to me, it's exciting, and hopefully, as residents and business owners and people investing in the community, it's something that really will hopefully help enhance how you use and see Boardman. So we're kind of updating the code. One of the big things is it hasn't been comprehensively updated in a really long time. So when you think of, the standards, the development trends, the 50s and 60s, from the strip malls to how exactly the mall was developed then, and to kind of just what are those trends now that people want. How they shop is completely different. What their houses they want to see is completely different. So we want to make sure that businesses can invest, homeowners can invest, and it's all very predictable. I think having predictable standards for everyone is one of the key things that companies aren't calling me until they've already completely scoped out what's going on in the township. They already know what the markets are, where they want to locate. And so I think for us, really having those standards that they can find online that are very clear are helpful to businesses. So that's one of the big things that we're trying to do in the new code. We've gone through kind of a draft evaluation. We've had a lot of public input already. All of it's online if people have questions and want to see specific areas. But I just wanted to touch on a few of the things that hopefully you find somewhat interesting. It's all online, and I'd be happy to answer anything after this. But we're changing some of the way that we do districts. Right now we have, for residential and commercial, sort of a one-size-fits-all. So if you have a 1940s house versus one that was built 5 years ago, from small to large to all these different needs, we get a lot of calls of people wanting to update those, what they're doing, and because we have one set of standards that doesn't fit all those houses, so we're kind of redoing all the single family districts into 3 different ones that'll make people be able to add on without having to go through a bunch of hoops. Same thing with the businesses. Right now we have 1 commercial district. So whether you're a small business on North Market Street, to the mall, to a major retailer, to a strip mall, it's all treated exactly the same. The uses that can go in those, the setbacks, your signage. So it makes it very difficult to, I think, have any flexibility. So that's a big thing that we're trying to do, is set some standards, but also be very flexible. Some of the things that we are a little bit lacking on are architectural standards. I think we do a great job of encouraging those in the township, and then we have great businesses that are already pushing the bar. So one thing we're doing with those is just setting kind of a minimum standard that is required for the township. Again, having it very flexible. So when you talk about architecture, landscape, parking, having more standards than we do now, but also making it more flexible that people can use, make it very clear, and really, doing something that a lot of businesses are already doing in a lot of places, and they're already looking at to do in Boardman, but just in a way that we at least kind of have a very clear baseline of what we're expecting. And then, we have our site plan review process that really looks at how all these come together. Signs is another thing. We have a lot of signage. We are told by our consultant that we have the most broad, least restrictive, we'll say, that she has ever seen across the United States. So again, we're looking to make things that have a little bit, still flexible, still really give businesses a lot of different designs and opportunities, but that has, we don't treat the mall versus the old Kmart property exactly the same signage that we do the Dairy Queen, and that's kind of how we do now. So really just looking to make things a little more, I think, fit different areas, and also just really be clear so that people know exactly what those standards are. Hopefully as residents, you're always more than welcome to call our office, or as business owners, but really want to make it so that you can find it too on your own, so that there's no gray areas. I'm not trying to interpret things, which we do a lot of right now. Consistency is one thing that we, I think, are pretty good about, but really just having a set of standards that I think can set the baseline from here for hopefully the next 50 years, and we'll update them a little more than we have in the past. But other than that, I think we've got Mr. Kufleitner, and also everything that's going on with the mall. I think that's one example of a huge exciting project going on in the township. I'm sure we'll hear more about why Boardman was chosen, but I think we've worked really well together, and I think that's what we'd like to hopefully do with all businesses, is just really, be someone that you can easily call and help get question answered and help get projects moving forward. I don't have any very other large exciting projects down the pike, so Meyer's still happening in 2021. But other than that, happy to answer questions, to stay around. We are, everything's on the website. If you ever have any questions, or feel free to give me a call. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Krista. Yeah, it may not be the most exciting topic, but it may be one of the most important topics, and that we can't ignore, so we're thankful that you're there. And it's interesting this evening as I spoke to both of the upcoming speakers, and I said, Krista's going first. Oh, Krista, she's great. They both said that, which is a nice compliment to you and to what you do in the department, because many times you hear business owners, I'm working with this community and this department and that department and government, and we didn't hear that tonight. So that's really a nice compliment, and we hope people have that experience in Boardman Township. We want them to come here. They want them to invest good dollars so they can see a good return. Well, okay, next up, I'm tempted to say tell a friend, but he will tell us how he's a friend of Boardman. So let's give a good welcome to John Kufleitner, owner and dealer principal, Boardman Chrysler Jeep Dodge.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me this evening. A couple months ago, Mr. Thompson approached me and asked me if I'd consider joining you folks for dinner and talking about our Boardman project. And he said the basis for the conversation would be why Boardman. Actually, you know what? For us, this started about 4 years ago. Chrysler came to me, and it was kind of funny. They called and they said, "We're coming down from Detroit. We'll be there in the morning if you're available." I said, "Sure." And they said, "We'd like to talk to you about Boardman." I said, "Okay, let's talk." So it was kind of funny. They came in, and 3 gentlemen showed up in suits and briefcases, and they said, we'd like you to sign off on the Boardman market so we could put someone else in there. And I said, well, that's not going to happen. I said, did you guys really think I would just roll over and let you put someone else in my back pocket? They said, well, no, but we were hoping you would. So I said, well, what else do you want to talk about? And they said, oh, that's it. I said, we're done talking? And they said, yeah. So they started to leave, and I said, guys, next time do yourself a favor. Pick up the phone. You don't have to drive 3.5 hours from Detroit to talk about something that's not going to happen. I said, I'll save you the time, the gas money, and you guys can go play golf or something, right? So about 6 months later, they tried it again, and then about 6 months later, they tried it again, and they said, well, what would it take for you to sign off on the Boardman market? And I said, I don't think there's anything that you could do to make me sign off on Boardman. So then the conversation went to, what would you be willing to pay for the Boardman market? And in our scenario, I already owned 40%, and the Austintown dealer owned 60% of the market. Of course, there was a Chrysler Jeep Dodge dealer in Boardman back in 2009, before the Chrysler bankruptcy. And then they shut that point down. Of course, that made no sense to any of us in the Chrysler business. They were selling the most cars out of all of us, and yet they shut the franchise down. For me, I thought, it's kind of crazy. If the market could not shut Mr. Frederick down, how was it fair for the factory to shut him down? Of course, I didn't have a say-so in it. But when they took the franchise from him, he called me a few weeks later, and he came to work with us, and just recently retired. He'd been with us for almost 10 years. So, and his son works for me, and his daughter works for us as well. So, it's been a nice relationship, and you know what? They're pretty happy about us coming back to Boardman, which is really neat for me at least. So we messed around with it for about another year, and then we finally got it worked out. I bought the Austintown dealer out of the market, and then we were in search for a piece of property. Of course, I already have a history with Boardman and being a car dealer in Boardman. I was a general manager of Market Motor Company back in the early 90s, and my first manager's job was, I was a general manager of Greenwood Nissan in 92, and then in 93, we bought Jack Ritter's Market Motor Company. Then we purchased Volkswagen, Mazda, and Jeep from the Scotfords. We moved Market Motor Company from Canfield to Boardman, terminated the Mitsubishi franchise, took Nissan, put it in that building, and then we started with this new venture with Chrysler, Plymouth, Jeep, and Eagle. And so I was a general manager there for about 6 years, and then in 98, the Greenwood sat me down and said, we have an opportunity for you. We'll either sell you the Nissan franchise, and this was on a Friday, they said, if you want it on Monday morning, you'll be the dealer, or we'll sell you the Market Motor Company, but that's a 10-year process. So I said, well, let me think about it over the weekend. So, on Monday, I did some soul searching that week, and I thought, well, I like the overnight deal a little better than 10 years. So Monday morning I committed, and I became the dealer of Boardman Nissan, and I had a business partner from Struthers. His name was Tom McEntee. His name is Tom McEntee. And we did that for 8 years, and I sold that franchise to Mr. McEntee, and there was a little dealership in Salem, Ohio. My family's been in Salem for about 100 years. So there was a little Chrysler dealership down there I wanted for a long time. And I chased it for about 15 years. So the first call, I called Mr. Patterson. I invited him to breakfast, and I said, any chance you'd want to get together and have breakfast? And he said, sure, that'd be great. He said, but what do you have on your mind? I said, well, I'd like to talk to you about buying your dealership. And he said, well, we can have breakfast, Johnny, but my dealership will never be for sale. Never. I said, okay. He has a son that's my age, actually. And he's a factory guy he was for Ford, Lincoln, Mercury, of course. Mercury's gone now. He's still a factory guy with Ford and Lincoln, and he told his dad, I know you want me to come home, but I like Detroit, and I don't really want to be a car dealer. So The next time I called him, I said, "Hey, Mr. Patterson, any chance we get together for have breakfast or lunch?" He says, "How about tomorrow?" So that worked out pretty well. And we're hoping, and I'm a dumb optimist, so we'll see how it goes, but we're hoping to be open in business late December. We're really close, really close. The blacktop's about 70% done. We only have about 5 days left of electricians working outside. We've got 15, 20 days of laying tile. They're in there painting right now. The drywallers are about finished, and we've got heat on in the building, which is kind of nice. We have a sanitary line now, which is nice. But it's an exciting project, and for me, when you say why Boardman, why not Boardman? I mean, how could you not have a Chrysler Jeep Dodge dealership in Boardman, Ohio? It's a lot of planning potential. Almost 800 new units to start out with. And we hope to be 1-to-1, which give us 1,600 cars a year. That's a good start, we hope. I think that's possible. It's a great product. It's an up-and-coming product. Jeep is just a really hot brand, not quite as hot as Subaru, but actually the only reason I want to come to Boardman is so I can be close to Rob, and we can have lunch together a couple times a week when we're old. Actually, we have a history together working. We go back many years, and although most people believe that car dealers don't like each other, actually we're very good friends and very close, and we try to help each other. And I look forward to growing old with Rob and hopefully playing some golf with him and having lunch because he'll be right down the street. So I don't ever plan on retiring. I have twin sons that are autistic, so. They're 19 years old, so they're going to be with us forever. We're never going to be empty nesters. So they have their own offices, and I have mine, and they'll have their little vice president badges on their doors. So, every day we'll just plan on coming to work and hanging out and make the most of it and sell a bunch of cars and have a little fun and have some fundraisers there. And we plan to do a lot more than just selling cars. We try to be, big supporters of the community. We're going to create a lot of jobs, sell a lot of cars, try to make a little bit of money, maybe a lot of money, try to pay a little bit of taxes. So that's about it. Again, I appreciate you having me here this evening, and I look forward to be back in Boardman, and it's going to be I think it's going to be a great community project. But it's an 18-car showroom, 20-car showroom, so we'll be able to stock in, out of the weather, one of everything we sell, which is exciting. We've got some new products coming, and I think it's just going to be fantastic. So, heck yeah, Boardman, I love it. I'm happy to be here. So.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you for sharing those stories with us as well, and your history, which was interesting. It wasn't just the dealership; it's where you've been, where you've come from, and that long road that has led you here. So we're happy, and we're very excited about that. That we will call you a friend, you'll call us a friend. So thank you so much. So that's one reason why Boardman. How about another? With us this evening from the Washington Prime Group is Matt Jerkovich, Vice President. So let's please welcome Matt.
Guys, I think we have a little bit of a technical thing we got to put a minute on. Yeah, but you're also getting 3 for 1 tonight. So you got Brian Gabbard, who's the GM of Southern Park Mall, and for all intents and purposes, he's the CEO. He runs that ship, and I think it's appropriate for him to kick this thing off. So Brian, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead. I'm gonna try to get down here and help him.
Good evening. Thank you for having us here tonight. As he said, my name is Brian Gabbert. I'm the general manager at Southern Park Mall. I've been there just over 3 years. And the thing I always hear wherever I go in town is, hey, you're the mall guy. And I guess that's better than you're the bald guy, but I'll take it. And it's inevitably followed with, the next question is always, so what's going on at the mall? So we've got a great piece of property, we've got a great location. What do we do with that? And I can tell you, we've started a couple years ago. You know, you're seeing things happen now. You're seeing the buildings getting torn down. You're seeing a hole in the wall. You're seeing all this stuff now. But for the past 2 years, we have 110 properties in our portfolio. For the last 2 years, we have had, at Southern Park Mall, we have had the #2 largest capital budget in the entire company. So we've done a lot of things over the last couple years that you can't see. The entire roof is about 90% re-roofed. That is a huge project. We have a lot of new heating and cooling units. We have a lot of new parking lot. So we've got a lot of stuff that as you walk through the mall, you don't necessarily see. But if that stuff's not done, we've got big problems on our hands. So we've done a lot of the groundwork in the past couple of years that puts us in a really good position to move forward and do some things that you will be able to see. You know, I tell people, it used to be you could just turn on the lights and open the doors and people are going to come in your mall and shop. And it's not that way anymore. We've got to retool, we've got to reinvent ourselves, and that's what we're here to tell you about. We're here to tell you about how we're reinventing ourselves in a world that likes to point and click and shop online and use their mouse and just find it online and have it at your doorstep tomorrow. That's a tough task. Well, how do you battle that? And the answer is you've got to come up with something that's experiential. You've got to have something that you can't do with a mouse. And that's what we're here to tell you a little bit about tonight. We've got Matt Jerkowitz is our development vice president. He's the guy that's really tasked with coming up with all these ideas and building it. And John Galek is our leasing guy. He's the guy that he's got background here. He grew up here. He lived here his whole life. He knows this community far better than either one of us do. But he's the guy that's going to lease it out. So we've got kind of the whole team here tonight to give you an idea of not just where we've been, but where we're going, how we want to get there, and we're even going to show you some great renderings of what that's going to look like. So I'm giving it back to Matt.
Yep, sounds good. Thank you, Brian. So Brian's right. You know, this has been a long project, and you know, the theme of tonight, why Boardman, right? So I thought about it a little bit, and you know, there's two reasons. I mean, Brian's correct. We have 110 properties throughout the United States. See a lot of friendly faces out here, by the way, so hello, everybody. But we have 110 properties throughout the United States, and not all of them are getting this level of TLC. Why is it that this one is? Well, there's two principal reasons. First, this is a good piece of real estate in a good community. We have great demographics. We've got traffic. We've got a history of support from the local community. And just for our purposes, it's a tier 1 asset. We can't afford to let this thing not be successful. So it's self-interest, but it's an easy thing for us to put money down into because we believe in the asset. We believe in this market. That's number one. Number two is the people, right? So that demographics is certainly one part of the people, but another part of the people is, you know, when I start going through it and I start listing all of the folks that are involved in this, it's the locals at all levels of government, at all levels of organization that have been a part of the conversation around how we're going to make this thing happen. And I would be remiss if I didn't kind of point out a few of them. The township, so our trustees, Mr. Calhoun, Mr. Moliterno, congratulations, by the way. Mr. Costello, who's I don't believe here tonight, but all three have been phenomenal supporters. They're not, you know, they don't sugarcoat it. They let us know when we need to step up our game. So they've been great advocates for the community, but at the same time, when we do step up, they're there for us, and they're there to help us understand what needs to be done in order to move the narrative in the right direction here. Krista and Jason, I would just like to reiterate, Krista, you've been phenomenal to work with as far as, you know, guidance not only on this current round but also in the past. So it is truly rare to have the kind of relationship that we have in this community with these local officials, both administrative but also elected. In addition, it's the Western Reserve Port Authority. It's our Board of Education. It is, you know, the Mahoning County commissioners have been, you know, helpful to our process and helpful to providing feedback to our process. And Boardman Park, our hosts tonight, in some respect. I don't know where Dan is, but you know, so it's been a true community effort, and that community effort makes this job of lifting what is a pretty heavy stone possible. It makes me want to spend more of my time in this community making sure that this thing is done correctly. And I cannot thank you guys enough for that. As far as our project goes, and John will have a chance to speak to, why Boardman as well. One of the things that's a highlight for us is DeBartolo Commons. You guys have heard about that. You've seen renderings, I think, in the press. So one of the other things about people is the DeBartolo family, Mrs. DeBartolo York and her family, and then upstream from that, all the way back to Mr. DeBartolo Sr., who developed this project in 1970. It is not lip service when I tell you that it is a meaningful thing for us to have that legacy as part of our project, and it would be a crime for us not to highlight it, because one of the things that we found, and I've found in spending time here, my grandmother's from here, she was raised until she was in high school here in Youngstown, and I can tell you that this community understands legacy, they understand loyalty, they understand history and family. So for us to be able to grab onto some of the stuff that's built into the brick and the mud of our site and bring it into the next 50 years, that's an important thing for us, and we're happy to do it. But that's also a reason why this is something that's risen to the top of the list, because that family, that business, that is a big part of the roots of Washington Prime. Washington Prime is a spin-off of Simon Property Group, and I would say John was with DeBartolo back in the day.
Since the 80s.
Since the 80s. Came up with that group, then was over with Simon after the merger, and has come back with Washington Prime. And I think I would 30 or so of the assets that we have are developed by Mr. DeBartolo. So, for us, it's meaningful. This is a meaningful project for us, so we're very happy to be here and be able to talk to you guys about some of the refinements that we've made in the plans that you guys have seen so far. So I have to walk around in order to click buttons. So you won't be able to hear, but at least the folks on the screens won't be able to hear. But after I get through a couple of these, I think John's got a couple things he'll be able to share with you guys about the pitch we're able to make about why Boardman to our partners, our tenants, and other folks who are going to do business on our site. And then if you guys have any questions, we're happy to take them. So I'm going to step over and kind of walk you through some of these highlights. So what you guys are seeing on the screen here is the 224 entrance looking down onto the site. What you're seeing on the left-hand side is our existing pylons on it. It's not black, it won't be black, don't worry. But that's a position that we anticipate is the kind of thing we'll be able to build in the future. On the left-hand side, that's out parcel opportunity area. We do not have a deal for that right now, but I can tell you we're working to see if there is a player that we can lock in the near future. This is, of course, one view. But as you start coming around the site to the other main entrance, you can see kind of a refinement from our last plan. So this is, when you drive into the site today, you are not able to continue straight down into the food court entrance. This entrance will be remanufactured so that you can drive your car directly up into the site and make a right or a left. And we think that's going to be helpful not only to the tenants that are exterior facing, you can see those new exterior facing spots for the food court, but also it'll be impactful as we lease up what we call the bolt-on on the right-hand side. That's showing a single-use tenant, but we've also shown in previous renderings a run of exterior-facing retail. I can tell you that both scenarios have traction. Both scenarios have interest from key players. If you guys are going to be excited with whatever ultimately comes here, give us a little bit of time so we can make the announcements. But very exciting thing for us to be able to unlock that value. As part of the construction that you're seeing happening on site right now, the utility loop that runs around our site is being relocated, is being pulled away from the building to create an area that you can build on. Thank you for your help on the permitting and all that. Appreciate that. And that's what we that's why you see some of the fencing kind of pulled out in front of the mall, farther away from where the demolition is going. That's what's going on there. And so as you start to see us move dirt, you'll understand what we're doing. We're creating that little pad area right against the mall. You can see at night, it'll be a little bit of a different feel as you drive into the site. This is sure. Don't get too close. So you can see here that we have, we do have the opportunity to really make this thing pop in a different way from the Market Street's facade. And as you move down the site, this is daytime showing you that same venue, and then looking down the entertainment district run of exterior-facing facades and over towards the Barlow Commons. So again, it's not so great with the lights as bright as they are in the room, but it will be a very impactful space. As you're looking down the site from the Barlow Commons corner of the site, this gives you an aerial perspective to understand what we're talking about when we talk about the Barlow Commons. Barlow Commons is not a small thing. It's 4 acres. I don't believe there's another one in the United States that's quite that size. It's going to be a venue and a town center for this community. It is going to host as many events as you all are able to do, and we are going to provide you guys with something that I don't know necessarily is here in quite the same way. You guys have phenomenal facilities. You guys have, obviously this facility around us in Boardman Park. But this is going to be a different type of venue to provide, a home for different types of experiences, larger format concerts and festivals, etc. As you look down the site, I think I may need to, actually, we're going to go into some of our little comments, overhead views, and then some other things. You can see here, what we're talking about doing with this site is creating some fields. So there's going to be the opportunity for those little rectangles. Those are little kid soccer fields. The larger rectangles, there's 3 of them. Those are larger kid soccer fields. And then the far left is even larger soccer fields. This is preliminary planning, but it's very much real. And as we decide what we're going to actually lay in, there may be some additional amenities that are thrown in. Up against the mall itself, you can see there's going to be a new mall entrance leading across a paver walkway over to what will be a nice plaza area. That plaza is large enough for us to host an ice skating rink. It's flanked by exterior public restrooms on each side of it. There's going to be fire pits out there, and there's going to be an opportunity for us to do tents so people can rent skates, or potentially in the summer if we ultimately do a splash pad. We're looking at all kinds of things. We're going to do that right there in that same space. We are, as we kind of look into this, looking at doing a very, very nice treatment for all of the infrastructure improvements. The facade that you see to the left, that's actually what's going to be permitted, subject to us getting through review approvals, which we still have to do. But that is the facade, the revised facade that we're looking to execute. You can see here, actually, just before this this dinner tonight, we were able to publicly announce our first tenant, our first major tenant, a 12,000 square foot entertainment venue. It's called Steel Valley Brew Works. And Joshua Langenheim is the owner of Stone Fruit Coffee Roasters. I think some of you guys are familiar with them. They're a chain locally. Joshua is going to be our partner on executing that project. It's going to be very exciting. It's the space I'm going to point to it, so that you all can see. It's the facade space. Get out of the way. Actually, right where my head is. Right above. So you can see that right up there. So that's exterior facing space. It's going to have garage doors in the summertime. It'll roll away. Right on the inside of those garage doors will be bocce courts, indoor bocce courts and 3-season bocce courts. There will be a large bar so that you guys get the benefit of what will be probably the nicest local craft brew venue in Market. Obviously, he's going to have his coffee roasting business, so an actual coffee roasting manufacturing kind of business, housed in that facility, but also a coffee bar and bakery, just like he has in his other locations, on a larger scale, much larger scale. So we're very, very excited about that. This is a concept that's very similar to things that are taking off across the country. In Columbus, we have something called Penn Mechanical. It's very similar to this. This is more of a focus on bocce, which is appropriate for the market. But certainly this type of leisure game and beer and coffee and that kind of stuff is exactly the kind of thing we want to bring to our site. Next to that on the right-hand side is the indoor golf complex that also will have a separate restaurant component to it. And we're unfortunately not able to bring that into our press release prior to today, but I would anticipate by year-end you guys will be able to get a lot of detail on that. Our deal is effectively done. It's just a matter of letting the tenant get his ducks in a row before he ultimately announces. And it's a local player, and we're very excited to have him as part of the project. It's going to be pretty impactful. I think you guys are going to be very excited about it. The golf lovers are going to be excited about it. And then, of course, on the left-hand side, there will be another restaurant opportunity out here. The venue itself, though, the kind of the mix of all of these different pieces coming together with our existing Cinemark, which is a phenomenal theater that's resat recently, looks pretty good. It's much better than it used to be. I hope you'll agree. But they are doing very well. They're very happy with it. Actually, they'd like to expand. Maybe if all this goes the right way, we'll be able to figure a way to make that happen. As you get into some of these, you can see a little bit more detail. I know it's always fun to see pictures, so I'll just kind of give you some of those. You can see this is the area in the wintertime where we'll have our ice skating rink, and we'll have our food trucks for hot coffee and or hot chocolate and coffee and all that kind of stuff outside, and other things like that. The restrooms are on the left and the right. One thing that this doesn't quite show, and I think is really important for folks to understand, is what we are trying to do with the partnership of Boardman Park and the perspective we're also the Board of Education, is look at ways to build a connection, a hike and bike path through our site, through the southern end of our site. That path already has a way to connect into Boardman Park on the east side of the property. And the hope is that we'll be able to figure a pathway out on the other side of the site. That's preliminary, so I don't want to suggest that that's a done deal. But I can tell you that we're very excited about the opportunity to try to connect into the majority of the residential neighborhoods on the south side of 224. We think it's going to be a pretty impactful thing. I know the township is going to be a great partner in trying to unlock that opportunity for us. What you're seeing there on the restrooms is actually bike racks and a bike pump station, so that in the morning folks can use this as a stop on their morning ride. I think that's pretty much kind of the extent of what you can see here. There's more of just scale, so you can see the facades, and then of course the stage at the far end. That's actually a semi-truck. What you can see is the ability for us to pull stagecraft and other things, whether it's theater screens for movies on the lawn, or whether it's big TVs for on the back of a truck for us to do a tailgate or something like that. This is going to be a space for us to be able to be as creative as we possibly can be, and we're very excited about the opportunity to do it. So that's pretty much, this is the food court. You can see this is how the new front door of the mall will look. Some of the things we're trying to do is keep materials consistent. You can see this is the same brick that's throughout the site today. And also because this is a steel town historically, we wanted to make sure we took advantage of bringing some of those materials in. They're going to pay a little bit of homage to the roots of the community locally. So you'll see steel throughout the property. And this is again the south end of the site. You can see Steel Valley right there in the middle. Those are the rollaway doors, the new entrance on the south end of the property. We're very excited about it. We think it's going to look great. And we're ready to get going. And we also are appreciative of our local partners in local labor. They've done a phenomenal job for us getting this project going, and they're great partners, and we're very lucky to have them. So, as far as the project and what we're trying to do, I hope you guys have a little bit better visibility into those details. And if you guys have any questions, we're happy to take them. Otherwise, John, I'd like for you to be able to say a few words about, kind of why Boardman for you. You just moved back here.
Yeah.
So, I think this is
At the end of the day, we had a pretty good canvas to work with. You had a community that was like thought out back in the 50s, starting with Mr. DeBartolo's development of Boardman Plaza, morphed to his next project, the Southern Park Mall. Community grew around it, grew east and west into Canfield and Boardman, and over to Columbiana, down to Youngstown. And we're getting like great bones to work with and a great community surrounding it. It's like people ask, well, why would you go back? It's like people don't understand it's the people that make the town. And that's why it becomes personal. You go back to try and make an impact, try and do things, make it better, do different things in the community. This is just a piece of what Washington Prime, and I'm just lucky to be a part of it, to be able to come back to where I grew up and be able to put some ink on a canvas that was started 60, 70 years ago, and the community grew around it. And we're excited about what's coming here, and it's kind of nice now that Sears has started to come down, so all the people kind of tapping on my shoulder and say, well, what's going on? What's going on? I go, well, you're going to see. When? It's like, this is the show me town. Well, we showed you. Half the Sears is down. The other half is coming down. So watch out. Because it's gonna be grand. It's going to be great. You're going to have the restaurants. You're going to have the entertainment. You're going to go back to the roots of why the shopping center was built in the first place. And that's community, a gathering place. And that concept seemed to get lost along the way. And now we're remembering where we came from and trying to go back to that. Because the most important thing about the venue is being able to gather as a community. And I think with all that we're creating and hope to create, both local and national, we're excited that the majority of what we've been focusing on is local and regional, and we'll intersplice some national things and wants that the community has, but people are engaged in what they like locally and what they want to support. And the more, I guess, local and regional businesses that we can incorporate into that, the better it is for the community and the support and everything else. And we're just excited to see it come to fruition. It's been a long time in coming. A lot of shots here and there. Well, when's it going to happen? Well, we're here, and we're hopeful that it's going to be successful, and we appreciate all the help we've had from all the different community leaders and just about everybody. It's been positive all the way around, and we're excited for a lot of interesting things to start being announced over the next couple of weeks. Thank you.
I don't know if anybody has any questions about the project. Yes, sir.
Has there been another project, whether Washington Prime was involved with it or not, but anywhere in the United States you're aware of that had a similar situation where you redeveloped it in an area that's still viable, and we went to this, or they went to this type of scenario?
So, yes. The answer is yes. That green space is not new to us, or is not new to the industry. I mean, it's been around. These have been focal points of a lot of what you see around the country, being rolled out by our peers, also by us. We have an opportunity here to do something probably bigger as far as the green space itself than most other folks have tried to tackle, but we do think that. We're kind of within the sweet spot of this. It's not necessarily a trend, but one of my bosses used to say all the time, 80% of our malls are 20% too big. And when Sears went or was looking at potentially going away, we proactively got control of that because we wanted to make sure we had the ability to execute something like this, and it takes time. So you need to have that certainty of when I'm going to have control and when I can push the building down. And it's frustrating because locally all you see is a dark box for a period. But for us, when we were looking at being able to take the box down, it was an old box. It wasn't in the best of shape for those who've been inside of it. It was an opportunity for us to come into the mall a bit, and we've done that. We've been able to right size a little bit of that small shop excess inventory through this project, and then actually even the space that we left up by remanufacturing, so it's now exterior facing. We took a lot of that inventory, quote unquote, and we consolidated, remanufactured it into exterior facing venues. So for us, while it's not necessarily down, it's not something that John's worried about trying to fill folks into, and that means that the rest of the center, the rest of the site, can be utilized to make room for those regionals and nationals and locals, the great locals that we're able to hand pick to come into the site, to flush it out, to give you guys a really nice experience. The interior of the mall, we haven't mentioned it, but the interior of the mall is also going to be subject to a renovation. So the flooring and the lighting and all that kind of stuff will be made new. And right now there's a big push and pull within our organization because of the fact that we have so many things going on all at once. Do we try to jam all of this stuff in prior to our 50th anniversary celebration next fall? And is there still a little bit of push and pull on that front? We'd like to do it all at once. We'd like to get it all done, rip the Band-Aid off. Sometimes you got to be thoughtful about what the impact is to your tenants. But we're going to do a pretty great job for you guys across the spectrum, inside, outside. And I think at the end of the day, you guys are going to have one of the nicer community amenities within the state of Ohio as far as the quality of the product you guys are going to have here. Anything else? All right. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Matt and Brian and John. That was very informative, a good slideshow. Boy, you could really see what you're going to do. So that was really helpful and beneficial to us here tonight. Thank you so much. And sincere thanks to all our speakers here this evening. We've heard amazing examples of commitment and leadership, and we thank you all for your stewardship to our zoning department and for the investment of organizations like Boardman Chrysler Jeep Dodge and the Washington Prime Group. It's pretty impressive. We live in this capitalistic economy and system of which we all benefit from, but we make choices every day with our dollars. We make economic choices every day. So we choose what to do with them. We can spend them online, we can spend them in other parts of the world, or we can spend them right here. Because we've had proven to us tonight why Boardman is so important. So as you consider your daily decisions, consider why Boardman is so important to us. We can keep up our cost of living, keep up our value of our real estate, and keep up our community by making investments here. Well, thank you this evening to, of course, our president, Stephanie Landers, Meg Harris, George Ferris, Karen McCallum, BSTN, and I do appreciate that Brad Pitt makeover that you give me in editing prior to airing any of this on the TV station or YouTube. Thank you. Why does no one ever laugh when I say that? Did I really look that bad? I really need that much of a makeover? Thanks, everybody. Anyway, we also appreciate the media coverage that we receive here this evening. This really helps us and helps spread a good message of what's going on in our community. Boardman has an amazing array of diverse opportunities in almost any area of life, including family activities, education, commerce, healthcare, recreation, community service, and faith. Let's continue to take advantage of these opportunities or try them for the first time and preserve Boardman's motto, a nice place to call home. Wish you all happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We look forward to seeing you in the spring. God bless and good night.